Sway.
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 In the morning.
In the morning.
In the morning.
Shake your body.
Wake your fuck ass up. That crust out, y'all.
All right, we do this every week. Kelly Kinkaid, she's not professing to be a doctor.
I just care.
She just care about you, mind, body, and soul and spirit. And so when she came up with this concept, it was just to find information, privy our audience to it, do with it what you will, but it's strictly to help you improve the quality of life. Good morning, Kelly Kinkaid.
Good morning, Sway. Good morning, citizens. Tracy, everybody. You know, Sway, today I thought I was really anticipating today's show because, you know, you see in the media a lot of stories about mental illness. You had the husband who walked into this elementary school and shot his wife. And you have various different stories, and just mental illness is the core of everything. And so I wanted to bring in this wellness expert, speaker, and motivational guide, Quentin Vennie, who wrote this great book called Strong in the Broken Places. I want to welcome Quentin Vennie. How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm well. You know, when I was reading the book, it connected with me because you, as a male, speaking about your story, connects with a lot of people because you're from Baltimore. You talk about your struggle growing up, and a lot of people can connect with that.
Right.
And I want you to tell people about your story. What moved you to write this book and your journey?
Well, initially, first and foremost, thank you for having me. It's an honor and a privilege. As you said, I am from Baltimore. Grew up, my father was a heroin addict, raised in a single-parent household. You know, I remember my mom working 2 or 3 jobs simultaneously just to make ends meet. You know, she moved me from the city into the county, which was supposed to create a more diverse opportunity for me. And unfortunately, you know, being placed in predominantly white schools, I've experienced a lot of racial discrimination, a lot of racial divide, a lot of prejudice, as well as leaving that school and then going back to the old neighborhood and seeing a bunch of poverty and deprivation and dilapidation and addiction and violence. So, you know, all of that kind of came to a head when I was about 14. I was diagnosed with acute anxiety and depression. They wanted to put me on Prozac. My mother, you know, told them no. In the next, you know, few years, I think everything was normal. I would think. And then when I was 26, I was diagnosed with severe generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, and mild to severe major depressive disorder. Was once again put on medication. I endured a 2-year addiction to my anxiety medication, survived an accidental overdose, and attempted suicide twice after falling into a deep pit of depression myself. So, you know, it was only after my doctor had told me that I would need to be on medication for the rest of my life that I wanted to make him out to be a liar. You know, I felt like, you know, all throughout my life, I was never expected to be much or to do much. I was told by, you know, authoritative figures and guidance counselors that I would be lucky if I graduated high school. You know, society's expectation for people like, you know, like me that come from where I come from, you know, they don't foresee us being alive longer than 18 or 21 years old.
Right. And when you talk about, that's a great story. But when I dug deeper in the story, added with all the diagnoses in Baltimore, I think of The Wire. And you talk about your job, your street job. So you have anxiety, you in the streets, and you're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, when you come from that world and you're involved in that life, you know, I think we all suffer from a level of PTSD. I mean, it's, you know, whoever said the illegal was the easy way out couldn't understand the mechanics and the workings of the underworld. You know what I mean? So, you know, that led to a lot of, you know, a lot of panic, a lot of, you know, uncertainty, you know, walking around and, you know, you're making a bunch of money, but, you know, your life and your freedom is at risk every single day. And just being in Baltimore, which at that point was considered the heroin capital of America, you know, and still is to this day one of the most violent cities in the country, you know, you're faced with that possibility of not returning home every day.
And like I said, this story connects with me because I have friends who are males, because you were dealing with all that we just mentioned, still understanding your relationship with your father, because he was in and out of your life and in and out of prison. You know, so with all of that said, and you're here now, what was that turning point for you?
I think for me, it was hitting rock bottom. You know, it was after that second suicide attempt, which I wrote about in the book, of course. I realized that my life had purpose. I think a lot of times we sit back and we look at the trials and tribulations we experience and we question and we wonder why.
Right.
So after that second suicide attempt, I made it my intention to fight to live instead of fighting to die.
That's wonderful. And you're here now, and there is a great story of this, and it's a positive thing. And I want you to talk about, when we come back, what helped you and what were your tools? What was that, your trinity that helped you?
Will do.
Okay.
I got Quentin Vennie here, strong in the broken places. You can relate to this. Perhaps you even suffering from depression. 888-742-3345. First Aid with Kelly Kinkaid. Really interesting topic. We have author Quentin Vennie here, the author of the book Strong in the Broken Places. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
That's a really powerful title. Strong in the Broken Places. How'd you come up with that?
There was a book titled Stronger in the Broken Places or something along those lines, and it was like, well, in order for you to be stronger, you have to first find strength. And you know, a lot of times we need to find strength in the places where we are broken. So you know, if we are strong in the broken places, then we've overcome every level of adversity that we could ever face.
Okay. And then Kelly, you asked him a question about the crossroad.
Yes, we talked about your story and your turning point, because you were on a lot. You were diagnosed as far as having anxiety, in the streets, dealing with your dad, coming from a single mother to home, and your turning point. So you called it the Trinity, and it was yoga, meditation, and juicing. We talk about juicing actually, and what's interesting, my first aid segment was juicing. So I'm all about, I'm deep in the juicing. and who was it? Someone who turned you on to it, introduction to it?
No, I after I visited my doctor and he, you know, wanted to put me on Xanax when I told him I didn't want to be on any kind of medication.
Right.
You know, after that, I kind of like sat in the car, cried for like 45 minutes, and then just like, I got to figure this thing out. So, you know, I started doing a lot of research, and there was 2 documentaries that I watched. One of them was Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. It was an Australian guy who healed an autoimmune disease and lost significant amount of weight doing like a 60-day juice fast. And then there was another one with Chris Carr called Crazy Sexy Cancer. And she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. It was a very rare, incurable cancer. And through changing her lifestyle and essentially juicing, and she went vegan and, you know, did the whole holistic thing, you know, she was able to successfully beat it.
What did you do first, yoga, meditation, or the juicing?
Juicing.
Okay.
Juicing was the first step.
And then yoga?
Yep. And then I was actually online looking for juice recipes and came across a yoga video. And I heard about yoga before, but I thought it was like this weird cult type of crazy sex thing. Right?
It is.
Yeah,
That's why I go. I'm looking at asses when I go to yoga. I'm joking.
Men in yoga, sometimes that it could be different.
Yeah, black men in yoga.
Yeah,
go ahead, Quentin.
Black men in yoga.
I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
You gotta do your thing, man.
You know me. I mean,
keep it 100.
Yeah, it keeps me healthy. All right, go. So yoga and then meditation.
Yeah, so it was through yoga that I found meditation. I mean, the last pose in yoga is corpse pose, and they say it's the hardest pose because you're supposed to not move, like you're supposed to stay still. And in that moment, it's weird because you know, yoga class is about an hour and 15 minutes. You're putting your body in these awkward positions, right? These awkward poses, just to have like 5 minutes to just lay down at the end, and it's euphoric. And I experienced it and was like, I have to find a way to do this all the time. I have to be able to match this feeling without having to go through this hour and 15-minute class all the time.
How did it change your state of mind, to her point? Like, prior to doing these practices, how did what was going on in your head, and then how did it balance it out, you feel?
Well, yoga is broken down into multiple limbs. There's 8 limbs of yoga, and the physical practice is called asana. That's one aspect of yoga. Yoga has a lot of philosophies. So in my yoga practice, I learned one thing that I apply in every aspect of my life, which is find comfort in being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right. So if we can, you know, our reaction to pain doesn't change the fact that it exists. Our reaction to it changes the impact that it has in our lives. So I learned that in yoga. I learned that from, my mindfulness practice. A lot of people feel like mindfulness is, about spirituality. And for me, it's just self-awareness. It's finding that truth, whether it's, your strengths or your weaknesses, whatever that truth is, finding it, accepting it, acknowledging it, and living it authentically.
Okay, let's go to these phone lines. You got a lot of folks. The book is called Strong in the Broken Places by Quentin Vennie, Vennie. You can find it where?
Right now, it's available for pre-order at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Books A Million. It comes out May 30th.
What's your social media?
Quentin Vennie, everything. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, QUENTINVENNIE.
We're going to try to take as many calls as we can, kind of limit quick questions, quick answers. We got Courtney from Alabama on the line. Good morning, Courtney.
Hey, Court.
Good morning, Sway, Tracy G, Heather B. How y'all doing? I just want to say, Quentin, man, I can really relate to you, man. I'm a 24-year-old man. I'm a disabled vet, man. My mom died when I was 6 years old, and I was pretty much bounced around, mistreated. The usual story, man. Growing up as a black male, told you wasn't going to make it past 18. So I joined the Army right after high school, and that added a whole nother list of problems after the deployment.
Right.
So I just understand how it is about reaching rock bottom, man, and just like, I don't know, sometimes you don't know which way to go.
Right.
And only thing keeping me afloat, I have a little girl, Kamara Jackson. I love her to death. And that's it. That is what it is, man.
That's amazing, man. I mean, as long as you found something to keep you alive, to keep you focused, and to keep you moving forward, that's all we can ever ask for.
All right. And you know what? There maybe it's something in this book too, Courtney, that I'm sure that you'll be able to relate to and pull from as well. He mentioned, I know you're disabled, but he mentioned meditation, juicing, yoga.
Yoga's amazing, especially for vets. PTSD, it's been known to help. With PTSD, meditation is known to, reverse the effects of PTSD as well.
Okay. Hey, Courtney, thanks for sharing your story. You're a citizen.
Sway in the morning.
All right. Joseph is in San Antonio. Good morning, Joseph.
Good morning.
Hi, Joe.
What's going on? Hello, good morning, y'all. Yeah, I'm 43 years old, and for a couple of years, I fought the fact that, I was really battling depression, and then I kept lying, kept avoiding trying to get help, but ultimately I gave in, man, because that can be dangerous if you don't attend to it, because it eats at you, and you are unhappy, and the people around you end up being unhappy. I'm currently taking meds, and I'm good, but there's times that it's still just out of nowhere. It drops in. One thing that helps is meditating, but my power is within water, so I happen to meditate at the same time as I'm showering, and it's a refresher, and you need stuff like that. Yoga and all this stuff is good.
Hey, and Joseph, may I recommend that you do not watch the Warriors San Antonio Spurs series.
That would always be one of those things that would push me over the edge again.
Hey, but Joseph, thanks for sharing your story. Water helps him in meditation. That's interesting.
Yes.
Monica's on the line from Sacramento. Good morning, Monica.
Hey, Monica.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Doing well.
So, I just wanted to call. I listen to you guys every morning, but I know yoga is very new to kind of the hip-hop culture, black culture, especially males. But I work with kids in the Bay Area from Oakland Way, Richmond, Fairfield, Vallejo. But I contacted a yoga teacher who's based out of Chicago. He's a black male, but he comes and does yoga with our students who are, black teenagers. So it is a very new experience, and it's crazy to see, even if they don't realize it right away, crazy to see how it affects them on a mental, physical, emotional level.
It's yoga.
But,
I'm hearing,
yeah,
yoga.
Absolutely.
You practice too, Monica?
I do, and it's kind of, you got to practice what you preach. If you're not willing to, I'm not going to tell these boys who've never even heard of yoga to do it when I'm not going to do it with them.
I commend you for your work, and I wish I was introduced. Well, I kind of threw track the type of stretching. Thank you, Monica. You're a citizen, by the way.
That's way in the morning.
The kind of stretching we would do in our workout, we would take an hour and do different type of stretching poses, strengthening things, and in a sense, I think it was some form of yoga, and it forced us to calm down and concentrate on what we were doing with our body. Tracy, you have a question for Quentin.
Yeah, and it all falls in line of yoga. I'm a major yoga advocate. I personally do vinyasa most of the time, and it's crazy because when I do go to classes, one, I don't see that many black women at some classes, but two, I rarely, if ever, see black men, and I think sometimes it's easier if they were to go online. Like, I do some stuff on YouTube as well, just because it's not intimidating being in such a daunting space with everyone, you know, on their head doing handstands and whatever. Do you have some resources just for like someone who's at a very freshman level of yoga, just has no idea what they're doing, but they listen to, I don't know, Big Sean all the time and speak highly of it? So what is a good resource online for the young black male?
I think YouTube is the greatest resource of all as far as video and stuff is concerned. I have a good friend, Tara Stiles. She's the one that introduced, you know, her videos was what made me feel comfortable. She didn't use a lot of the Sanskrit terms. She used regular terminology like low lunge and push up and, you know, so, you know, I just think, you know, Google as well. I mean, there are a lot of, even especially in urban developments, I mean, I'm sorry, in urban communities, there are a lot of, you know, private, small yoga classes that are pretty much hidden because it's not, you know, the most popular thing in urban communities. So, you know, that would be my recommendation. I mean, you know, just really just tapping into, you know, those online resources as much as possible. Yeah.
Quentin Vennie is here. We have to go ahead and bring this to a close, but I don't want folks to feel alienated. We are, because you're a young black male, and we're talking about your experience. But depression is, in these conditions, diagnosis affects people across the board, whether Asian, white, Latino, and these practices can apply to anyone.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, it's a human issue. It's not a race. It's not a gender, you know, it's not a religious issue. It's a humanity issue. Like, we all suffer from depression, anxiety, PTSD, bipolar disorder. Mental health is, you know, our mental health is the most important thing we can focus on right now, because without it, nothing else matters.
Are you still on meds now? Or
no, I've been clean of medication. This year will be 5 years.
5 years. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Quentin Vennie, man. Reach out to him directly on social media, Quentin Vennie. If you want to pre-order this book, Strong in the Broken Places, you can go to Amazon.com right now. Pre-order is out when?
May 30th, officially.
That's coming really soon, okay? Kelly Kinkaid, thank you. How can they reach you?
Thank you. You can reach me on all social platforms. Kelly Kinkaid, Kelly Kinkaid. Thank you, Sway.
And we'll be posting this on Sway'sUniverse.com as well, or you can hear it back on SiriusXM.com/on demand. Anthony from Boston, Speedo from Baltimore, Josh from Florida, Daryl from Baltimore. Please leave your voicemail so we can play them back at the end of the show. We want to hear your story, too. Up next, we got one and only Miss USA,
Kyra McCullough.
You want to talk to a Miss USA from the District of Columbia, 888-742-3345.
It's Sway in the morning, only
on Shea 45.